Okay, great. Hello, everyone. My name is Linda Mühli. I'm working for Digital Switzerland. We are an organization it's dedicated to the digitalization here in Switzerland, and I'm leading the education, professional, and diversity chapter. And today we've come all together to this webinar to talk about the impact of AI on the labor market. I will share uh, my presentation here. Just a second. Um, if it's not working like that. And I can hope you see the screen now with the presentation. So I'm really happy that we have three distinguished speakers today, two from the World Economic Forum, one from a law firm, Wenger Vieli, here in Zurich. And before we start, I would like to just tell everyone what we do here at Digital Switzerland. So we are an umbrella organization that is bringing together different sectors, different areas. So we have members from the public sector, from academia. We are have members from the private sector, so companies, tech companies especially, and also organizations that are working very deeply with the digital and civil society. And we try to create a dialogue between these different stakeholders. We try to push and talk about topics that matter to them all. For example, the work transformation, the AI that is really immersing all different areas of our lives and work. And we have different chapters, let's say, different programs. So we have the one on education that you can see here on the bottom. So education professionals diversity, as I said. We are supporting the vocational education and training here in Switzerland. And all topics that are related to what we call the future of work. Then we have a chapter on trust in digital ecosystems and literacy. And we have also different colleagues working on AI, on digital health, on data spaces, etc. And today, as I mentioned, we have three guest speakers here. I'm very happy to have you here on board. So first we have Maria Basso. She's the head of the AI applications and impact at the C4IR Digital Technologies, the World Economic Forum. Then please switch off the mic. Thank you. Then Sam Grayling, who is the insights lead of work wages and job creations as well at the forum. And then we have Claudia Keller. She's a partner at the Wenger Vieli law firm, and she will talk a little bit about the legal aspects and what it means to be a lawyer in this time of AI transformation. But first, we will start by with an input by Sam Grayling. Please, Sam, I hand over to you. Make a short introduction to yourself, and then we can start with your presentation on the Future of Jobs report.
Thanks, Linda, and thanks everyone for coming along today. You've given a good introduction there. I'm our insights lead for work wages and job creation. Part of that role is being the lead author of this report, the Future of Jobs report. It's the forum's flagship labour market report. And what we do, if you actually flick to the next slide, I can tell you a little bit more about it. Um, what we do for the Future of Jobs report is we bring together the perspectives of over 1,000 employers globally. We have data for 22 industry clusters and 55 economies around the world. Collectively, our respondents employ over 14 million workers. Um, so what we do is we ask these employers a set of various questions around the labor market. What are they expecting to change? What are the skills that are going to grow or decline? What are the jobs that they're expecting to rise and fall? And what's driving all of this? And amongst that, we bring together quite a large set of findings. And I'm just going to take us through a few that I think are particularly relevant for today's session. So if we jump on to the next one, let's start with that. And it's the this slide here is about what are the key drivers that we found when I said when we ask employers what are the things that are driving the change, there were five key themes that really came through. Technological change, which we're going to talk a lot about today. Green transition remains really relevant, particularly in some areas, more than others, but it remains really strong on the minds of employers around the world. Demographic shifts are another major one. That's both aging and declining working age populations, predominantly in higher income countries. Um, but also the youth bulge that comes through predominantly lower income countries where we're actually going to see a lot more working age population globally. Geoeconomic fragmentation came up as well, and it's only strengthened since we released this report in January. And then finally, economic uncertainty. Even though things like inflation has come down, we still know that there is inflated costs at the moment. We know that there is slower economic growth from a long-term perspective. So these things are really weighing on people's minds as well. So let's dig into that technical change a little further. If we push on to the next one, we can look at some of the details. Apologies for the formatting here, but we can talk you through it. So that first macro trend I talked about, technological change. About 60% of employers expect broadening digital access to transform their organization by 2030. That's actually the most of any overall trend. So this is really top of mind for everyone. And it's really driving divergence, for both jobs and skills. So if you look at the growth side, the sorts of roles there are perhaps what you might expect to see: AI, machine learning specialists, analysts, big data specialists. These are the sorts of roles that technological change is expected to drive growth in. If you look on the declining side, technological trends are actually expected to drive are expected to be the biggest driver of decline for almost all of our top declining roles. So that includes things like administrative assistants. It's got accounting and bookkeeping clerks, data entry clerks. A lot of other clerical roles come up on this list as well. But if we look into the skill side, which is those boxes on the bottom left, we can see actually the three that are the biggest, that technological change is driving the biggest growth in: AI and big data, networks and cybersecurity, and technological literacy. Those are actually our top three growing skills overall. Um, well, that maybe in the current context is people might say, yeah, of course, technological skills are growing. It is interesting that only one of these, technological literacy, is in the top 10 skills today, whereas the three of them are one, two, and three for top 10 fastest growing skills. And they not all of those were at the top 2 years ago when we last ran this report either. So it is something that really has changed in the last couple of years. The declining skills are actually just a slight decline, but things like manual dexterity, reading, writing. Uh, if we look at this quite fun graphic on the right-hand side with our wee twirl on there, we look at what are the biggest what are the biggest technologies that are expected to drive change, drive transformation within organizations. Uh, and maybe it's no surprise to see AI and information processing technologies on there. Almost 9 out of 10 organizations are expecting this to drive transformation within their organization. That's still a really high number, right? Almost 9 out of 10, and expected to really transform your organization. That's quite a high bar. So just how big it is, I think, is really quite astonishing. Particularly when you've got robots and autonomous systems at 60%, energy generation at 40%. I actually think those are massive findings. So for AI to just dwarf those two, that's the context that I think is worth raising. If we look at the next one, and it's just going to give a quick overview, so we might just finish on this slide and let us get into some of the more discussion pieces. This one, look, what we did is we asked employers, what are you planning to do in response to AI? So specifically from AI, what is it you're planning to do? And the one that we've highlighted, and half of employers plan to reorient their business to respond to AI. So that's half really are planning to quite well transform their organization. Just want to pull out a couple more findings here. Those first two, 77% plan reskilling. So that's by far the biggest. But then the next two boxes about hiring more people. 69 planning to hire people with skills to design AI, 62% hiring people to work alongside AI. So roughly 2 out of 3 organization plan to hire more people. But then that bottom right one, 40% also expect to downsize their workforce where AI can replicate. So it's really this dual impact system going on here. I'm just going to leave you with that taster for now. There are some more slides on here, but maybe we use those in discussion if it comes up later on.
Yeah, sure. Yeah, thank you very much, Sam, for this very insightful start. I mean, already have a lot of questions, but let's wait for the discussion and listen first to Maria. Maria will go to the next slides. So this is your presentation here. Please, the floor is yours.
Awesome. Thank you, and great to be connecting with you all. And as Linda, you kindly already introduced me, I'm Maria, and I head our work on AI and applications at the World Economic Forum. What we wanted to share with you today, we thought was quite helpful, is about our program we are running, which is called MINDS, which stands for Meaningful, Intelligent, Novel, and Deployable Solutions. And what is this program about, and why we kicked it off as in the forum is that there are currently, I think, billions and billions of dollars poured into AI. But the challenge is that very few companies, very few organizations are managing to actually make the most out of AI and having AI solutions which are actually impactful. So the reason why we kicked off Minds, it's really to ensure we could spotlight and have a mechanism to understand what are those really AI transformations that are driving an impact for society today. So if we move into the next slide, this is just a quick overview of what we do in our AI center at the forum, but I can I can skip it, and this is just to say this is in the area of how can we accelerate impactful AI innovation and adoption. But if you move to the next slide to go a bit more concrete on what is the program, it's a program we launched to identify and recognize what are the best-in-class AI projects that create tangible impact today. So not just the marketing projects we talk about, we hear about, we invest on, but what are those that clearly today are creating impact for organizations and for those of us as individuals as well. So this is a program that we opened up to all industries, but also governments, nonprofit, and from any single organization and any size of company an organization can apply. And we look at different type of projects. It's the AI applications, the frontier novel innovations, but also some AI transformations as well. And moving into the next slide, how the program actually works is that we have 2 applications window. I think what's important to highlight is that we created with our community an impact framework to assess how do we actually define an AI applications that is impactful. What does that mean? So we do evaluate them based on the impact, which is both the business impact, economic impact, but also societal impact and workforce impact as well. Novelty, of course, it's another important one with AI because AI is not really new, right? We have AI since 1960s. So what's the novelty of AI? And also responsibility. Is it adopted in a responsible way? Then we receive normally hundreds and hundreds of applications worldwide. And then we put together an external impact council, an external body of experts that actually is in charge to review them and help us spotlight what are the most meaningful and interesting ones. And our role at the forum is not really to give an award to those minds, to those team members, to those companies winning them, but it's really to ensure we create spotlight sessions for everyone to learn, for everyone to come together and learn and interact with those minds behind the greatest AI applications. How did you do it? Which type of innovation? What was your impact on the workforce? Which challenges did you have to overcome? And what can we learn for our organizations as well? So I want to also share some of the highlights about the program, and I think we have some in the next slides. This is just overview on out of all the hundreds of applications that we got from the first cohort, which are the ones that got spotlighted and selected as the most impactful one. And I think what's worth highlighting is that we have quite many applications that we call frontier AI applications. Those are specific applications in an organization that are innovative, that use AI to do things in new way, and that, of course, have a business impact or sustainability or workforce impact. What's quite interesting, and this is quite a new trend, is that we start seeing emerging also what we call the AI first transformations. Because an AI first transformations are basically not just those single application in an organization, but those companies that are starting to rethink end to end how the company is organized, how the operating models runs, how their business model runs, and leverage AI to be embedded in all the different operations to create and unlock more transformative value. Moving to the next slide, just wanted to also share some practical examples from two different industries, but this is just to say that the examples normally have been coming from all single different industries. One here that we spotlight is an example of a sandbox partnering with the Institute for Neurodegenerative Diseases. Quite exciting because it's in the medical healthcare field in which we see their partnership, they partner together to actually accelerate Alzheimer research using AI-powered drug discovery and advanced numerical models. Of course, we know drug discovery is slow and especially takes a lot of time. So these companies started to use what we call physics-based AI, which is AI trained on physical models to actually help do simulations faster and discover new molecules as well, with impressive results. So we look forward to follow the next steps of this partnership. And then the other example we wanted to spotlight is on Eton AI, which is more of a technology startup partnering with Siemens, of course, a large industrial organization. And they partnered together on looking at factories, because we know that in most factories, not just Siemens, but there is a lot of scrap, of course, rework and idle time, but at the same time, a lot of data from sensors is collected, but not used. So the solution of their partnership is that they leverage the AI to put together an end-to-end analytics platform that leverages data, machine learning, AI to actually fix these issues, and resulted in a scrap down up to 80% and with the impressive results for productivity as well. So again, our aim then it's more to learn from these insights and learn from these stories that have an actual impact today. And just, of course, we have many more and we can share offline as well, but just last reflection I wanted to do, it's more on the workforce aspect. So we have some insights also to link back to the conversation of Sam. I think this is more bottom up what is happening actually in some of these use cases in which AI is applied well. So if we can move to the next slide. We analyzed all the submissions we got from the Minds program. And of course, we are using this program also to understand bottom up. So from the best-in-class AI projects, what's happening from a workforce perspective. And one of the trends that we are seeing is that we see AI complement workers, so those that are actually making the most of AI, is not just about automating everything and replacing every worker, but it's about how can AI complement worker skills. So for example, an easy example to grasp is about doctors using AI, and they have to deal with a lot of patients, and they can use AI on the diagnosis, on the diseases of treatment, and to make more accurate decisions. Upskilling is important and is essential because, of course, not everyone in companies is actually very familiar with AI. So we saw some of these companies that actually invested important amount of their revenues to actually upskill at least basic level all of their workforce on AI. With efficiency gains, then what you do, and you can actually free up some human capacity. So companies, some companies are actually thinking, great, finally it's the time to focus on those strategic projects we never had the time to focus on before, and this is unlocking further productivity. Of course, it's essential to build the trust. Without trust, there is no adoption. And sometimes what is happening, especially in some factories, that there are potentially great use cases of AI, but nothing changes because some operators don't trust AI to keep performing the way it's been performing. So showing clear benefits, helping workforce building trust is also essential. And we see unlocking new type of collaborations, which is with humans and AI tools in which humans and machines can support each other. So these are just some of the insights, and look forward to further ones from the final panelists and to the conversation altogether.
Thank you very much, Maria. That's really, really interesting. And I think the last one, the new types of collaboration, very well leads to Claudia's presentation and what she will talk about. Not only how we can understand this transformation from a legal perspective, but also maybe she will talk a little bit how AI is changing her own profession. So please, Claudia, the floor is yours. We start with your presentation, and please guide me to the slides as well.
Yes. Thank you very much for having me. As a lawyer, of course, I will first give a short outline of the current legal landscape. But I'm partner at Wenger Vieli. I'm also on the partner level, the head of our IT. We have some AI tools in place. I'm also part of our AI strategic group, which I think is very important because there was a recent article from the Zurich Bar Association which mentioned the word fear of missing out, the FOMO effect. So I think we also see a lot of companies just wanting to build or to include AI. And someone in the chat pointed out what actually is AI and what is intelligent. And I think it's vital to have a strategy. Now, in boardrooms, the conversation often revolves around speed and innovation. But as a law firm, for ourselves, but also for our client, the focus is on accountability and compliance. So if you go to the very briefly next slide, this is just I want to give an overview on the legal landscape. I focused on Switzerland, EU, and then international treaties. Switzerland does not yet have a dedicated AI act or law. I also doubt that we will regulate horizontally like the EU is doing. A report by the federal government has shown that AI is regulated through existing law, data protection, for example, being one, sector-specific laws like product liability, financial services, laws governing intellectual property, and the report identified certain areas where amendments are needed. Soon we will be presented with a proposal to amend the Copyright Act, for example, because there's a discussion if actually training LLMs with copyrighted work, if that's use that is subject to copyright law or not. So this is something that will be addressed. But in February 25, also Switzerland announced that it will ratify that's the international part, the Council of Europe Convention. Of course, for Swiss companies being active on the EU market, the AI Act is relevant, which is coming into force bit by bit. There were discussions that to actually halt the implementation of the AI Act, because it's always a problem with technology. Law lags behind. We will see. That was denied. It said no, they will go through as planned. But I think the lawmakers will have to show some flexibility with that respect. The Council of Europe's AI Convention is a binding standard for human rights and rules of law across the whole AI lifecycle. So someone mentioned in the chats what is ethical use of AI. I think this is addressed also by values of democracy and equality and human rights in general. Will you go to the next slide, please? Now, what is the effect of AI on the employment market and workforce? There are several studies and analyses around, and I think it's clear it's transforming jobs. New jobs are being created, and Maria mentioned it, upskilling is required. Certain jobs are automated. And I can confirm this from our law firm perspective. For example, until a couple of years ago, we had designated legal translation services that we used. So there are several firms that offered specific legal translation services. And I'm not sure if anyone in our firm is still using any human loop, at least for the first translation, but we have DeepL Pro accounts for everyone in the firm, and this, of course, is automated. Then jobs are transformed. We are using Deep Judge, which helps us search through our document system to find relevant documents easier. You can also tag them, and there are different workflows where you can chat, for example, with several documents. You can create timelines, etc. Now, the goal, of course, now thinking with the hat of the AI strategic group, is these tools are fairly expensive. So you have to make sure that actually your workforce is also using them and is using them effectively. So I think this is where the upskilling part comes in. You really have to make sure that the people understand how they should use it, what is permissible. I mean, as the head of IT, there's a growing concern about, we call it shadow AI, so that actually people are just privately, getting tools and bypassing the official tools that we deploy because they may be more user-friendly or easier to use, free. And of course, regarding the lawyer client privilege, this is highly critical. So I think it's also important to have a culture where actually, we are open to our employees to say, hey, this works better. I do this with Copilot. Can I do this? Can we look at this tool? So AI is saving time, but it's also then, of course, creating additional work. Maybe if you can go to the next slide. Now, when you look at, I looked at some statistics on Swiss firms, how they deploy and use AI. Apparently, automation adoption is high, is above average. But if you go to the next slide, you will see that, for example, regarding generative AI, there's a lower familiarity than compared to the EU or globally. And if you go to the next slide, I think this plays into the adoption or also to investment trends. So apparently, Swiss firms they do plan an AI budget increase, but it's apparently lower than what we see in other areas. And if you go to the next slide to be law firm specific, the AI adoption in law firms, I think the statistics for Switzerland are still, not really done, at least not as much as, for example, in the UK, which very early said they wanted to be an AI hub in Europe, and also large global firms. So Swiss law firms are still slower in AI adoption. I think there are several reasons for it. Swiss law firms are smaller, so I think the cost per capita is probably higher to implement an AI tool than for large global firms. Also from, let's say, from a negotiation perspective. For example, as a law firm, we identified that the Copilot, Microsoft Copilot, can be an issue because they have this human loop where they have this filter where there's an alert when someone puts in a prompt that's critical, and you can only opt out of that if you have 500 licenses or more. So I think there's also factual stumble blocks which will prevent Swiss law firms from actually, using AI tools. Another one is the data protection related, probably, because, for example, we use iManage. iManage has an iManage Cloud service as well. It's a document management system, but only until recently did they actually have physical servers in Switzerland, located in Switzerland, which is important for Swiss law firms. And now they made that move as well because they saw there's a market, but Switzerland, probably for the most large players, is still a niche market and not that relevant, let's say. If you go to the next slide, I think what is also should be taken into account, and this is what we look at when we do like surveys and talk to our employees on how often do they use these tools. It's an interesting effect. It's an interesting effect that it can be more productive. But there was a study done with software developers where experienced software developers actually lost time and were more efficient if they did it without the AI tool. And in law firms or for legal education and for future lawyers, I see a certain issue with gaining the necessary experience to be considered an expert. Because now what we can automate is, doing like fairly easy documents, repetitive tasks like drafting an NDA, etc. But if you don't do that work at the beginning of your career, how are you going to get to the next level of experience where you actually can do more complicated work? And we also see the effect that there are clients which require us to use AI tools, but there are also clients which then say, okay, I will not pay a junior lawyer if your AI tool can perform the same task as well, because usually it's the 4I principle. So I have to briefly go through the document myself before actually being able to send it out to the client. Next slide. So, and this is to close. I think I don't think that AI will replace lawyers, but I think it will substantially change the way we work. So more generative, more assisted work. As a senior, maybe more orchestrating and proofreading. We also have clients who send us a contract and say, look, I created this with ChatGPT, please review. So I think you have to look at it with a collaborative mindset, because I think AI doesn't have the human qualities, empathy, ethical reasoning, but also dealing with new topics and very complex legal areas where, for example, there is no precedent, and then probably there's no data in the LLM that actually can provide an output. So you will still have to do some thinking yourself. But I think it will also change the business model in as much as any business model that works on an hourly basis. Hourly bills will be under pressure. because if you pay a lot for AI tools to save time, but you bill or invoice your client on an hourly basis, where does it leave you? How do you handle that? I've seen law firms add a tech fee, for example, to their fees, but I think we will end up more working like with caps and flat fees instead of actually hourly billables.
Very
Thank
interesting.
you.
Thank you very much, Claudia. Very interesting. This last thought. I will just stop now the presentation, so we go back to the to the forum. This very last thing that you mentioned, Claudia, that I mean, it's disruptive at every level, right? Not only at the workforce and how you practice your job, but also how you can invoice and basically structure and sell your work as a lawyer. And this I found really, really insightful. So maybe, I don't know, my interpretation would go, you go to the more complex the complex tasks are done by human and therefore sold as sold more expensively, and the ones that were less complex that could be then automized.
Yeah, I think you probably have something like a commodity or product space where not a lot of individualization, etc., is required.
Yeah. Very interesting. So we have a few questions that are already that have already been addressed in the by you, for example, Claudia. So there is a question. So that the macro trend slide that you, Sam, showed, the one with the 60% of expected transformation. So the question is, do you have data or real impact over the last year? So this is, I think the maybe the question goes in the direction of data collection. So this is the expectation you got from the C-levels that you interviewed, right? Or that you sent a questionnaire to. Did you do a kind of a comparison with the last years? Or can you say something about this?
Yeah, so my understanding, and yeah, thanks for the question, Jesper. My understanding of the question is, do we have something that shows how much have things changed in the last 3 years, 5 years, however much it is? It is quite a difficult one to find a specific number on, because it's I mean, there are studies around. There's ILO's consistently doing this sort of thing about, and also more broadly UN data around how much internet penetration, for example. So there's quite a lot around the specific access type dimensions. To then put that out to how much impact it has is quite a difficult thing to quantify. So there's a little bit around, but I don't have really hard numbers on it. In terms of how our trends have changed, it's always been a leading factor, technology, since we started the report in 2016. And it has been growing slightly, although it's sometimes difficult to say it exactly, but it's generally been up the top as expected to be most influential.
Mm-hmm. And probably it will increase, so the pace of transformation will increase. Yeah, okay, interesting. And nevertheless, we saw in Claudia's presentation, certain sectors are more hesitant to kind of respond to that transformation. A question to Maria. So I found it also very interesting. You said like you differentiate between kind of the frontier kind of adaptation to AI and the AI first adaptation, which is, I believe, a very different mindset that you have in the companies. When you connect that, what like also Sam and Claudia said regarding like the strategic approach, can you maybe give us a little bit more insights there? What you're
Absolutely,
observing?
absolutely. And for us, it was also quite interesting because we were expecting, now we're still at the relatively early stages of generative AI adoption massively across all companies, across all organizations. So we were expecting to receive mainly specific AI use cases that are innovative, so frontier AI applications. But what's quite interesting is that the most advanced companies in adopting AI are being very strategic in how to adopt it, as you said. So instead of just looking at, okay, these are the boundaries of my function, and this is an AI use case that could help me, they're looking at strategies more company-wide and cutting across functions. So how can I really leverage AI for the outcomes I want to achieve, cutting barriers in our organization? And this mindset is quite difficult. One thing is, of course, thinking about it, and then the other one is doing it. And that's why we were surprised. We already started to see some AI first transformations because they require completely rethinking. And that's why normally startups are much better than legacy companies, right? Because they require complete rethinking on how we do things, how we operate, how we work, what are the different roles, but even what are the functions in organizations, and how can functions connect between each other? How can the legal team be embedded in a seamless way, for example, in decision making when AI tools get deployed and developed in the organization? But it's really this seamless connection and adoption of AI with the proper governance and cutting through silos in the organizations that can really unlock the most transformative and can leverage the full power of AI, which is really new ways of doing things and deliver value to customers and society.
So you observe it's more like kind of, yes, smaller startup-ish.
It's easier for them because, of course, if you start from a white page, then you can start how we call it AI first. So if you're a startup, you can start thinking, okay, this is the outcome I want to achieve. First of all, how can AI help achieve it? And then where the workforce can add the most value, right? While in current like legacy companies or current large organizations, we first think, this is what my workforce is doing. What can AI do around them, right? But in this way, you don't really necessarily maximize all the time the transformative power that AI can have.
Absolutely, yeah. Interesting. And I think by this you were just responding to the last question in the chat regarding practical cases and actually the differentiation between the two approaches. And when we, I think another aspect that was quite interesting, and that's maybe it's also a concern, when we talk about the future workforce, the younger workforce entering the labor market, connected with this idea of AI first or AI frontier, and the training. I think, Claudia, you mentioned it a little bit. What are your thoughts? How can people gain experience when you say, like, you have to first do the boring stuff and then you can go to the more strategic level? Is there a way around? Do you see any trends? What are your thoughts about this? To all of you.
Maybe if I can start, because I was at the Legal Tech Conference in Berlin 2 years ago, and a lot of there was a lot of Scandinavian law firms which were far ahead with AI adoption than we are, and there were two different ways they dealt with it. Some said, okay, yeah, we will have less juniors, so that we can properly train them. And others say they do like parallel training. So they say, look, don't use AI for that, or do the parallel work and then compare it. I think we are at the very start of figuring this out.
Mm-hmm. So that's actually then a company decision or a law firm decision that, yeah, we want to train future workforce and we invest in that as well.
Yes, yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Just a quick comment from my side, because I think one very interesting, but also on the other side, quite scary trend is that we see companies hiring, especially in the US, hiring less young talent. And you asked your question about how can we train young talent, and what's quite fun is that actually normally young talent doesn't need to be trained as much as the talent that we already have in organizations, right? So this trend of actually stop hiring young talent most of the times can prove wrong, because young talent is the one that actually brings AI knowledge to the organizations and unlocks possibilities that current workforce doesn't have. Then, of course, upskilling programs and curiosity mindset is important for everyone, but also we should not forget that young talents most of the times bring relevant knowledge for AI.
That they are the most innovative in the cohort, yeah, and this is a huge misunderstanding or a wrong narrative maybe that is circulating around, yeah. Mm-hmm. Yeah, so let's have another quick look at the chat. Just checking what Charles Blas mentioned. So he writes, there is a no clear unified view on what AI and AI intelligence means. What about the artificial part of it? What are your thoughts about this regarding the intelligence and the artificial kind of, how maybe we can reframe the question in a sense like, how do you see this human machine interaction? What would be, where does the human come in, and what does the machine do? To all the panelists.
I'll jump in quickly because I have a couple of findings that are quite interesting on this. And so one of the questions that we've asked for a while in the future of jobs is how much of your work tasks are currently being completed by predominantly humans versus predominantly technology, tools, machines, algorithms. So what is it now, and what do you expect it to be in 5 years' time? And we've got, at the moment, it's about a third, and then which ones are a combination. It's about a third at the moment, and then it's expected to be more like 50% being so. Yeah, a large chunk goes away from human specific and into that automation piece. What's interesting really here is that in the past surveys we've looked at this number, when they expect to be in 5 years' time, when we then re-ask that question, a few years later, they're actually pretty much where they were a couple of years ago. So the expected amount of change has always been more than the current level.
Yeah. This is mirroring a little bit what also, like, I just remember Claudia's graphs that there is a pressure or the expectation that we have to change, but the actual transformation then is very slowly. So yeah, regarding the maybe there is one other question. So what impact globally have been seen until now, trends or real numbers on the low-skilled workers, who are in a who social and social demographic and economic secure the stabilities of the society. So those who are really backing the backbone of our societies with their workforce. What are the trends regarding this population? I think this is maybe a question addressed to Sam. So also this question, like, what will we do with these people who are doing now, let's say the boring task or the tasks in the factories that can be replaced. I mean, Maria, you mentioned a little bit that there is a certain hesitation towards that because we still trust the humans more. But maybe what are your thoughts about this regarding that group of workforce?
Sure. So we did actually a piece of analysis that looked at because skills can be level of skill is quite it can be a controversial thing to measure, but what we've used in here is about the level of attainment required to get those skills. That's consistent with what the US Bureau of Labor Statistics provides information on. And so we looked at of the jobs that are growing or declining, what are the skill levels and which industries are different. So where is it that the higher skilled are growing more than the others? And it actually changes quite a bit across different industries. So in some industries, the jobs that are expected to grow are not necessarily the skills, not necessarily associated with skills that require long degrees and long training to get. Whereas in other industries, they are. Interestingly, one of the strongest skills that came up on there is manual dexterity, which is one of the ones that is expected when it's expected to grow. It's in the higher when jobs are expected to grow and need that skill. It's particularly high skills, and it was really interesting to dig into that. It seems strange, right? Why is manual dexterity such a key skill to be particularly good at in your growing jobs? And when we looked into it, it's roles like solar energy engineers or technicians, things that require a lot of training and also require that manual dexterity to actually be doing the job. So it's quite interesting how it does change a lot across the different job types and across the different industries.
Interesting. Any other thought, maybe from you, Maria, or?
Yeah, I think overall what we see like in practical application is probably the impact is probably mixed in the sense that we see it very disruptive in some areas and enabling actually in others. So when it comes to actually negative pressure, we see like it for sure in some areas like maybe more related to retail, logistics, warehouse robotics, so basically robots and AI together are replacing some more, let's say, rule-based work. So which were low-skilled roles that depends heavily on predictability. And of course, there is some polarization of the labor market in which some low-skilled jobs are becoming more intense in the sense that are more monitored. For example, warehouse workers, you can see that work often alongside AI, with AI tracking systems, for example, that dictate further the pace of the work. And at the same side, we do see some positive openings, and we already discussed extensively today about new roles of human in collaboration with AI. So not all low-skilled jobs are replaced. A lot of them actually are being augmented. There is a lot of stuff, for example, assisted with AI copilots that is raising productivity, but improving also job quality as well. And I think it's essential to highlight, as some Claudia did already, the need for platforms to upskill workers on to leverage AI tools to think through how can AI work alongside us to augment us for different type of jobs, even for those jobs that now are the most low skilled as well.
Yeah, interesting. Yeah. Maybe Claudia, you have one last thought on that too, and maybe.
Yes, I think it's not only changing, the work of low-skilled workers. I think because I can tell from experience, I have a 15-year-old son who is now deciding what to do as a job. He wanted to do something creative that didn't really work out, so he wanted to study art or become like someone who does graphics and things like that. And I think that will change. It'll be very difficult in future to find a job in that kind of area. But I think in recent years in the school system, the focus was too much also on academia. And there are a lot of job opportunities in areas where actually the risk of being replaced with AI are much less than others. And these jobs are now, having more value or of more interest. I mean, I don't see a robot, replacing a hairdresser. Or if we look at all the problems we have in the health system, I think the combination of AI and humans, I see great potential there.
Yeah, I think that was a very nice last round. I'm looking at the time, and I really wanted to thank you, all those three panelists, like Maria, Sam, and Claudia, for your insights. And what we can take away from this, I think it's really like we were focusing more on the opportunities than on the threats. Even though Maria, you mentioned that quickly. I mean, for a warehouse worker, it's maybe not so fun if you have AI tracking your productivity. But when we focus on this new collaboration, I think that's quite interesting to think. And it's especially what I heard also from you, it's the company's responsibility, and it's in their very interest also to upskill their employees, to give them the tools, not only to introduce the tools, but then also the knowledge and the necessary training to deal with this AI-based tools, and to enhance their productivity, and maybe focus a little bit more on the more complex questions that might be also some more interesting. Yeah. Any last comment from you, the panelists?
No.
Good. Then I thank you very much. And I wish you a very nice rest of the day. And we will upload this video, and we will send you a follow-up email to all the ones who registered with the link. Thank you very much. Bye-bye and take care.
Thank you.